If cycling is a religion in Belgium, you're welcome to High Mass. Ronde van Vlaanderen, the culmination of the Holy Week of racing in Flanders, and the final answer for now to the burning question of who is the king of the cobbled classics. It's the 109th edition of Vlaanderen's Mooiste, Flanders' Most Beautiful, the monument classic which stops a nation and the whole world of cycling for one day in spring. It's been billed as the Tadej Pogačar versus Mathieu van der Poel show, but there are 173 other riders keen to play a role in the destination of honours in a race which demands the very best of everyone involved. My name is Declan Quigley, and in the company of Magnus Bakstedt, you're very welcome to the highlights of Ronde van Vlaanderen 2025. This is very much a race of two halves, 269 kilometres in total, and the riders are going to make their way out of Bruges. No climbs for the first 130 kilometres. First section of cobbles that we've got along the way come after 109 kilometres, and then we arrive onto the big one out of Quadamont. First of three assaults on that particular one, then the Eikenberg, the Wolvenberg, and then the hills come with increasing rapidity through to the conclusion of the day. We've got 16 climbs in total, 15 cobbled sectors, many of the climbs of course featuring the really tough and challenging climbs and the likes of the Oude Quadamont, the Paderberg and the Koppenberg coming in quick succession. They're going to be the big appointments. After the procession out of Bruges, the flag was waved for the official start, and the attacks came thick and fast. It took a little bit of crosswind and a half an hour of full-on racing before this early break managed to make its way clear. Elmer Reinders, Alessandro Romele, Connor Swift, Sean Flynn, Timo Rosen, Rory Townsend, Marco Haller and Victor Vukuye managed to make their way clear to a maximum advantage of 4.5 minutes as the break headed to Oudenaarde in the first ascension of the Oude Quadamont. Peloton revved up the engine and laid down the watts, and as they hit the lower slopes, the riders were welcomed with a roar. And subsequent to that, well, we have had that challenging scenario for Mathieu van der Poel with the crash which has forced him into a chase. He's managed to latch on to the peloton and is weaving and making his way up towards the front as we approach the final 121 kilometres of this event. A quality breakaway of support riders. Will Hermans be able to make his way across to what's a very strong looking quartet? Fascinating to see Stefan Küng go as early as he has done.
The only one I'm sort of missing to see yet, the only team, is UAE Team Emirates. Have they put anyone up there?
Big teams represented now in this counter-attacking move. The junction is made. Two groups come together. It won't be long before they're at the very front of this bike race. Ghana is going to ride straight through and up and over this one. And just to prove me wrong, he sits up and takes a little bit of respite. And here we go. Here's the junction being made. Groups 1 and 2.
And now you got a serious group to deal with.
Let's get a look at Morgado and a little nod from Tadej Pogačar as if to say, yep, like that, like what I see. We'll zoom in and try and get a better. Right, here he goes. And Pogačar launches. No response from Mathieu van der Poel.
Van der Poel down the back here now. There you got him.
Well, there you go. He found himself out of position, and Mathieu van der Poel has been found, and he's been found wanting for position, and maybe, just maybe, he encountered another little bit of a difficulty after fixing that one, and he's very, very quickly up, and maybe just didn't want to respond too quickly. The Visma bike squad, Wout van Aert in perfect and prime position, right on the tail of the world champion Tadej Pogačar.
Mads Pedersen is the one that's struggling the most to cope with that attack. Both Wout and Jorgensen were looking quite comfortable following that.
Still a way to go on the cobbles, and listen to the cheers as Tadej Pogačar doesn't even have a look around here, happy enough to plough on.
Well, I think Pogačar decided that he was going for the Strava time up here now.
And Stefan Küng looks good, as would be expected of a rider who's run top 5 in this event in the last couple of years. And the peloton have made the junction just at the bottom of the Paderberg. Wonder how many of those peloton will still be with the world champion and friends by the top. And here we go. Mathieu van der Poel is going to get his retaliation in first, you might say, by being on the front this time instead of having to close the gap. And he's making Tadej Pogačar nod around there a little bit. Mads Pedersen is having to work as well. We saw from the peloton behind Michael Matthews and others really grimacing. And that's it. Look at that. The top two have put daylight into the rest, and Mathieu van der Poel has forced Tadej Pogačar clear, and Mads Pedersen frantically trying to stay in, and Wout isn't quite there at the moment. And Wout van Aert looks as if he's on a bit of a day without here, but he's working hard to stay in as best he can. Tadej Pogačar looks like he's out for a training spin at the moment.
Very, very difficult section of the race coming up here.
Long straight horror that it is. Utterly dreaded. 600 metres long. Average gradient of 11.6. And peaks of up to 22% here. Meanwhile, behind, Pogačar hits the front, and Van der Poel can follow. But who else can go? Pedersen right there. The three favourites locked in combat. Jorgensen and Wout van Aert are starting to flounder a little bit. Jasper Stuyven frantically trying to stay as close to the front as he possibly can for as long as he can. And they're coming up to join up with the breakaway group. Stefan Kung looks like he's going to go close to leading them over the top of the hill if he possibly can. Now we have got the favourites at the front of the bike race for the first time since the early break left. Because
I don't think it's over yet, though.
The injection of pace comes from Tadej Pogačar. Van der Poel welded to his back wheel, and Mads Pedersen starting to rock and roll here a little bit, but it's not feeling too good for the little trackman. Danish rider frantically trying to get to the top of this hill as quickly as he possibly can and keep these riders in touch. And well, it's one-on-one for the win.
It's still very much possible to bridge and close.
How much strength is left in these legs?
Yeah.
Great response here, and a great ally to Mads Pedersen. Jasper Stuyven has proven to be. That's good news too for Wout van Aert, who continues to believe. And Wout van Aert's decided he's going to take his leave of the rest, wants to build a little bit of slippage into the approach to the Oude Quadramont. It's a brave bid, and maybe, just maybe, a sensible one. Here it goes, and Wout van Aert barely makes it to the cobbles in front. Mads Pedersen already being distanced as they hit the cobbles, and Tadej Pogačar wants to get maximum value out of the full 2.2 kilometres of Oude Quadramont.
Mathieu in trouble.
Even Mathieu van der Poel cannot follow this pace because Tadej Pogačar is riding clear, and the Oude Quadramont is extracting its ultimate cost here as Mathieu van der Poel, the reigning champion who dreams of glory for a fourth time, is instead facing a major battle here just to stay in contention over the top of the penultimate climb of the day.
But this is not over yet. This is definitely not over. And I think with Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, Mads Pedersen and Jasper Stuyven together,
there can be no hesitation. But is there a hesitation? And the crowd crane their necks, and what do they see? They see the world champion stripes and their hero and their favourite. Well, it's such a demanding climb, this one, and it's such a demanding race, and riders scrapping to stay in there for as long as they possibly can. And Stuyven has stayed in there as well. It's probably good news for them.
I'd say about 18, 19 seconds.
Only the drone can stay with a rider in this kind of form. Now they jockey for position, knowing that they are resigned to a best result of second, and Jasper Stuyven fires the first salvo. Multiple representation from the Lidl track squad, and that's going to leave Mathieu van der Poel potentially a little bit vulnerable. Clear daylight between himself and the rest, and now he can celebrate. Glory once more for Tadej Pogačar for the second time in 2 years, for the 8th time in a monument. And the world champion continues to prevail. He rights the wrong that he might have perceived after Milan-San Remo, and he takes it to the line as they jockey for position in the sprint for second place. Arms aloft, your winner of Ronde van Vlaanderen 2025 is the world champion, is the great Tadej Pogačar. Pedersen launches first. And Mathieu van der Poel has missed the boat here a little bit, but he gets on the wheel of the Flying Dane. But he's not going to be able to come over him at this point as Mads Pedersen comes in to take second on the line.